Throughout the film, 12 Angry Men, there are many different themes. These themes include class, perseverance, prejudice, prejudgment, and indifference. Symbolism and imagery had a big impact on this film, as well as the mise-en-scene. Throughout the film, 11 jury members voted guilty while one voted non-guilty on a murder case. All 12 men are in a tiny room with many arguments being brought up and many disagreements taking place. In 12 Angry Men, the jury came to a final verdict despite the tension between them all. Class is the main theme in 12 Angry Men. The class that is presented in this film is the jury is a cross-section of American life. There are different classes throughout the film. We see this because juror number 4 is a cool, collective, logical, and unflappable stockbroker, while juror number 5 was a man who lived in a slum all his life. Garfinkel says the other jurors are working men as well. They are all classified by what they do for a living. The 18-year-old boy is automatically put in the low social class because he is poor and has a criminal record as a juvenile. The jurors judge him on this, and 11 of them immediately vote guilty because of his social class. One of the jurors' eight reasoning for him being not guilty was the fact he was poor and had a criminal record, and because of this, he was given a fair representation. Juror 8 always looked on the other side of the arguments. Perseverance is another one of the main themes in 12 Angry Men because Juror 8 never fails to give up his determination. Out of the 12 jurors, he was the only one that voted not guilty. Juror 8 was determined he wasn't changing his mind until the 12th juror discussed the case. All other 11 men were disgusted with this one juror because they wanted to leave, but this didn't intimidate him in any way. Once they moved to the juror room, Juror 8 gives his reasoning. Based on Juror 8's perseverance, by the end of the film, all jurors voted not guilty. Even though all the signs pointed to the 18-year-old boy being guilty, Juror 8 never gave up. There were two witnesses, one being an old man and the other a woman, both claiming they witnessed the murder. The old man claimed he heard the 18-year-old boy shouting, "I'll kill you," from across the train tracks. But at the time of the murder, there was a train going by, so he would not have heard the boy shouting. The woman claimed that she witnessed the boy running down the stairs after the murder, but she wouldn't not have time to put her glasses on and enable her to see him. Juror 8 had all these reasonings because he couldn't see him giving an 18-year-old the death sentence in the electrical chair. Juror 8 perseverance is only one of the many themes in this film. Another theme is prejudice and indifference. Prejudice or prejudgment are also main themes in 12 Angry Men. Even though the men promised to set their beliefs and judgments aside for the discussion, but most of the men were unable to. All 12 jurors were told to go in with an open mind. Throughout this film, there was prejudice against slum dwellers and young people. Half the jurors made up their minds because the young boy was a slum dweller. They judged him on his past because he stabbed someone before and had been in plenty of fights. The other 11 jurors never took into consideration that he was beaten his whole life by his father, or that his mother had died when he was younger. Juror 10 reveals his racial bias by ranting, "We are facing danger here. Don't you know it? These people are multiplying. They are wild animals. They're against us. They hate us. They want to destroy us." This is a perfect example of prejudice from from the film. Another theme from the film is indifference. Indifference is used throughout this film by the jurors. They use lack of sympathy and concern for the 18-year-old boy. In other words, indifference is a secular face of what some might call evil. The 11 jurors that voted guilty just judged the boy on the witness without thinking it through. They never thought to discuss with the other jury members that the witness may be lying. Juror 8 was the only one to vote not guilty because he actually felt sympathy for the 18-year-old boy, unlike the other 11 jurors. The boy had the title of being patricide, which means he killed his father. As soon as the jury heard this, they voted guilty straight away, not listening to the boy's verdict. Most of the men wanted to hurry and get this trial over with. They had better things to do. 12 Angry Men has many different types of imagery and symbolism. During the film, the jury room was sweltering with heat. The court date was on one of the hottest days of the year, and all 12 jury members were in suits. The heat brought out extreme amount of tension between the 12 men. There was a fan in the room, but it did not work. The jurors were happy when the thunderstorm occurred because it brought some cool air through the windows. The clock in the jury room was another important type of imagery because it was a reminder of the time that was left to come in a conclusion of guilty or non-guilty. The small room was another symbol because the men felt trapped, and it didn't help that the door was locked until they came to a conclusion. The only escapes from the confidant of the jury room are into the bathroom by way of a hung jury or through the anonymous verdict. The murder weapon was a big symbol in this film. This weapon was used in most of the jury 8's reasoning for the 18-year-old boy not being guilty. The setting of this film is in a very small jury room. During the film, the jurors never leave this room. Throughout the film, the jurors are arguing about the case, which causes tension. In the room, there is a long table, wooden chairs, and a fan that doesn't work with what is the hottest day of the year. The 12 men almost look like zoo animals in cages. This film didn't have any scenery, though, throughout the film. It was just the company of other jurors and tables and chairs. During the film, no one's name is ever mentioned. The jurors are known to the audience by their juror numbers. The 18-year-old boy is known by the defendant. The witnesses are known as old man and woman. The victim's name never is mentioned. He is known as the father of the 18-year-old boy. Even the judge isn't given a specific name. The names of the juror are always kept secret. That is why they were revealed to the audiences in the film. The lighting of this film is dark when the thunderstorm hits. Despite this, the jurors were leaving the lights off so that the lights wouldn't put off any more heat in the small room. Once the storm hit, it got dark outside, which made them turn the lights on. The room continues to become hotter. The 12 men continue to sweat, and I'm sure it smelled as well. All the jurors are confused on to who believe and to vote guilty or non-guilty. It is easy to see confusion on the jurors' faces because of how close the cameras are. The facial expressions in the film are complex to convene each other that the arguments are right over the others. Also, their actions are shown more than words. One juror makes his point by pretending to stab another juror. He stabs him and says, "I will kill you," to show everyone he didn't really mean it literally. Each juror is always doing some sort of action, whether messing with a handkerchief or fiddling with their fingers. Since this film is held in a small room, it isn't hard on the camera crew to get every movement. The character probably feels as if the camera is right in front of their face. It isn't hard to point out their expressions because the camera captures everything. The camera may focus on certain characters and certain times, but it still has enough movement to get every other character before missing anything. The camera is at a high angle in the room, which makes it easier to see the interactions through the small room. The camera emphasizes on how small the room is. The lightning facial expressions and movements throughout this film provided us with visual sights. By setting the only one being in one place, it was hard to follow in the film because there weren't any flashbacks. It is pretty straightforward. Without the imagery and symbolism, we wouldn't be able to notice the tension between the 12 men. If this film also didn't have prejudgments or prejudice, there wouldn't be any arguments to make regarding the 18-year-old's verdict. Finally, without perseverance, there wouldn't be a film at all. If Juror 8 would have chosen guilty, the 18-year-old boy would have been sent to the electric chair for no reason at all. Juror 8 saved his life not only because he was determined he didn't do it. At the end of the film, 12 Angry Men, the jurors agreed with the juror 8 not guilty.